What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing, and today I'm going to be predicting the outcome of Carlos Adames versus Juan Macias Montiel, and this is going to be a 12-rounder for the Interim WBC Middleweight World Championship, and this fight is going to be Saturday, October 8th from the Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California, and this fight is going to be broadcasted on Showtime. And to get both fighters' resumes, Carlos Adames, fighting out of the Dominican Republic, holds a record of 21 wins with 1 defeat and 16 wins coming by way of knockout. He is currently ranked number 5 by BoxRec in the middleweight division. He's also a former interim super-welterweight world title challenger, and to list his one and only defeat, it came by a close unanimous decision against Patrick Teixeira, and that was for the interim WBO super-welterweight world title. But since then, he's rebounded with some very solid wins. But to get into some of his other best wins, he has a knockout win, or should I say unanimous decision victory over Carlos Molina. He has a stoppage win over Joshua Connolly. He does have a stoppage win over Juan Ruiz, a knockout win over Frank Galarza. He also has a unanimous decision victory over Patrick Day, and he has a majority decision victory over Sergey Derevyanchenko. But to get into his opponent's resume, Juan Macias Montiel, fighting out of Mexico, holds a record of 23 wins with 5 defeats and 2 draws, with all 23 wins coming by way of knockout. He's currently ranked number 15 by BoxRec in the middleweight division. He's a former WBC middleweight world title challenger, and to list all 5 of his defeats, he does have a majority decision defeat to Rodrigo Escalante. He has a split decision loss to Alejandro Barrera. He also has a split decision loss to Johnny Navarrete, a knockout loss to Jaime Munguia, and a unanimous decision defeat to Jermall Charlo. But to list both of his draws, he has a split decision draw against Josue Castaneda Perez, and he also has a split decision draw against Hugo Centeno Jr. But to list some of his best victories, he has a knockout win over Ivan Montero, a knockout win over Marcos Reyes, and he also has a first-round knockout victory over a washed-up James Kirkland. So in my opinion, this fight is a very, very interesting fight to predict because you have the sort of more boxing, more technical style of Carlos Adames and the more brawler, come-forward style of Juan Macias Montiel. So this fight could definitely steal the show on this card of being one of the better ones. But I think that Juan Macias Montiel, despite me thinking that I think that Adames should win this fight, I think that Montiel 100% has a puncher's chance in this one. He's got all 23 of his wins by knockout. He's got very good power, and he even was able to hurt Jermall Charlo in their fight. And that's something that many people forget to mention. I mean, Jermall Charlo definitely did not win that fight 120 to 108 like one judge had, which is just crazy. I think the fight was much, much closer than that, maybe a sort of 9-3 type fight, somewhere around there. But it was definitely not 12-0, because Montiel had his moments late. And surprisingly, even though he was able to stand up to Jermall Charlo's big shots, which shocked me. I mean, he also did get knocked out with one punch by Jaime Munguia. That's why I thought he was going to lose by stoppage to Charlo, but he showed he had an excellent chin in that Jermall Charlo fight, and I don't think that Carlos Adames, with his power in his own right, he has very solid power, I don't think that he'll be able to knock out Juan Macias Montiel. I think that Montiel is a very solid fighter. Nonetheless, he's got very good power. He's very aggressive, likes to come forward. It has a very awkward stance that's sort of hard to get punches by. So, I mean, it should be a very interesting fight. But Carlos Adames, I mean, when he fought Sergey Derevyanchenko, he looked very, very good. I mean, I thought he was going to lose that fight based on his performance against Patrick Teixeira. But, I mean, he looked very, very good against Derevyanchenko. He looked sharp. He was really the dictator of the pace in the fight, landing the better shots simply. It was a very close fight, but still he got the job done over a real established top 10 middleweight who only lost to like real world contenders. Because Derevyanchenko only lost to champions at that point. He lost to Jermall Charlo, Gennady Golovkin, and Daniel Jacobs, and he lost very, very close to Jacobs and Golovkin. So, I mean, the fact that he was able to beat Derevyanchenko was very, very solid. Although it was a few years later, it was still a very, very good win for Carlos Adames, and that happened, I believe, really, I think it was, I think in May, somewhere around there. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure it was around there, like around spring or early summer, somewhere around there. But still, Carlos Adames, he has that very solid win over Sergey Derevyanchenko that's got him this top 10 spot in the middleweight division. That's really got him this world title shot, that one win on Showtime over Derevyanchenko. So, that's really why he got this shot, and it's definitely well earned. So how I see this fight going down round by round, I think that really Carlos Adames will establish his jab early on. I think in the first half of the fight he will primarily dictate the pace of this fight with his boxing, simply just having the better style, and I think that's what will win him a lot of those early rounds. I don't think that Juan Macias Montiel will have a lot of success in those earlier rounds. Maybe he might edge one of the first three, so like one of them being a feel-out round, whatever. But really, primarily, I think that Carlos Adames will dictate the pace of the fight in the earlier rounds. He could be up like after 5 rounds or 6 rounds. He could be up like 59-55, maybe after 5, 49-46. Like I could see Montiel winning one round, but primarily all those rounds in the first half, I think that that Adames will dictate the pace on the outside with a jab, land the bigger and better shots, just be outboxing Montiel a bit. That's what I would say. He'd probably just be landing the better shots, just outworking him. But I think that Montiel will be coming forward, trying to land some of his own offense. But I think that the boxing and better work and the technicality of Adames will get the job done in the first half. However, I think in the second half, I think that Montiel will sort of pick up the pace, and I think that Adames will slow down a bit, just like how he did against Patrick Teixeira on their fight. I think that Montiel, being that he's a very aggressive come-forward fighter, he'll start to have some success, and he's shown that he has a very solid gas tank, especially against Jamal Charlo. When he was getting beat up, primarily throughout the first half of the fight, he started picking it up late against the champion, and he did very solid in my opinion. Even though he did lose clearly, he still did very solid late, and I think he will do very solid late in this fight. So I think that like round 7 and 8, or rounds maybe round 7 or either 8, like either of those rounds, Montiel might edge just based off of sheer aggression in the second half, because I think that Adames will be a bit more comfortable with his lead in the second half, might lose one of those first 2 rounds in the second half. So after, let's say 8 rounds, it could be 78-74, maybe still 79-73 for Adames. But then I think from rounds 9 to rounds 12, I think that Montiel would have a lot of success and might be able to take all those rounds, maybe 3 of them. I think he'll have a lot of success in those rounds. Really, that's where I think most of his work's going to come in, just like when he fought Jamal Charlo. I think that he'll just be starting to come forward more, starting to become more aggressive, and I think that Adames will start to tire a little bit. Although Adames doesn't have the worst gas tank, I just think that Montiel's work will shine more in the latter half. So yeah, I think that in those later rounds, Montiel will just be a bit more aggressive. Will simply outwork. Carlos Adames in those rounds, and I think he could get 3 out of those 4. And I think that it will ultimately total to maybe 3 rounds to 4 rounds in total, based on the judges' scoring in favor of Juan Macias Montiel. I don't think that Montiel is going to get more than 4 rounds on the judges' scorecards. I could see one judge having him winning 3 rounds, 4 rounds, somewhere around there. I think that the judges will bring out scorecards somewhere around 116 to 112 or 117 to 111 for Adames to win and to become the new interim champion. So, if you're predicting this fight, comment down below who you think is going to win. I think that Carlos Adames is going to get the job done, and this is actually a very, very solid fight. Like I said earlier on, it's a very, very good fight between a more technical fighter and a really come-forward style pressure fighter. So yeah, I think it should be a very solid fight, and the winner will come out as the interim champion. So overall, I believe that Carlos Adames will defeat Juan Macias Montiel by unanimous decision, and I think that the judges will score this bout somewhere around 116 to 112 or 117 to 111. And that will lead to what I think will become Carlos Adames winning the interim WBC Middleweight World Title. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.